How am I supposed to push myself to make my art?
Am I just supposed to ignore my kids, my partner, and my real job so I can be a creative? I can't do that.
Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we're talking about the reality of keeping the plate spinning when it feels like they're all crashing down.
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo! It won't feel like this for our listeners because we've still been posting podcasts, but I actually haven't seen your face in a couple of weeks.
It's been almost a month,
I know, that's
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
I think so. We're coming up on a month. I took a big vacation back to Colorado, and you.
I was helping run an artist intensive called Vocalize You in LA. And then I had my 40th birthday
Oh,
in
yes.
Las Vegas,
Las Vegas.
the city of sin.
We always called it lost wages.
That's what my mom
Whenever
calls it.
Really?
Lost
I
wages.
mean, I kind of feel like, you know how when Sinatra's like, I want to wake up in the city that never sleeps. I
Mhm.
don't feel like that's New York. I feel like it's Las Vegas.
It's because of all the cocaine, I think. But just kidding. But honestly, I had the wildest, speaking of cocaine, I've never
Oh,
done it.
shit.
I saw it once. Um, but I had the most ridiculous, crazy birthday. And by that, I mean, I spent time with my 72-year-old mom, and my husband flew in. And one of the days, I had breakfast and a mimosa and promptly went back to bed. Like
You were
it
crazy.
was wild and
Wow.
crazy. I didn't even want to leave my room that day. My mother brought me chicken wings.
I mean,
That
that
was one
sounds
of the days.
that sounds great to me.
Yeah. Yep. And I want to say too, I told you this earlier on the phone, but I had a really beautiful moment on my actual birthday. I was sitting at the Paris, ooh la la,
Oh, I do like the
and
Paris.
it's gorgeous. I was playing blackjack because the table minimums were lower during the day, and I was playing with a lady who's probably in her mid 60s and a couple other folks. And I was like, it's my 40th birthday. And her friends walked up who were all also in their like mid, maybe to late 60s. One of them had like tinsel extensions, in her hair. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, oh, 40. I wish I were 40 again. You're so lucky. And I was like, I am. Like, I had this really lovely feeling moment of like, this is the prime time, baby.
That's right.
Like,
That's right, baby.
and I was saying that like over the hill, back in when we were kids anyway, they used to throw over the hill parties for people in their 40, like on their 40th birthday. And honestly, over the hill sounds kind of nice because I really do feel like my 20s and 30s were like a fucking climb up and up and up. And now I feel like it'd be nice to kind of just ride the
Coast.
wave. Yeah. Just all downhill from here is not a bad thing.
When you told me about that kind of like reversal of that metaphor the other day when we were on the phone, I
Hmm.
thought it was kind of great because we always think of it's just like the slow decay, the slow slog of your 40s into 50s into 60s into 70s plus into irrelevance. And that's not what you're talking about at all. Like, it is a going downhill, but it's because so much of your 20s and your 30s you're building, trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out what you like, trying to figure out what you want to create. I don't know who I am. I mean, at least for me.
Hmm.
I don't know
Hmm.
who I am. Maybe I'll try on this identity. Maybe I'll be that person for a day. I don't really know what's going on. And then you kind of figure it out around like your late 30s,
Hmm.
to where now that you're at your 40s, you're like at the zenith of all of this work. And you just sort of can start letting yourself do the thing. Like, you unleash yourself
Hmm.
into the world, meaning that, like, you don't have to keep climbing that hill of identity anymore. Once you've kind of figured it out and you're like, I don't have time for all y'all's nonsense, and I don't have time for drama, and I don't have time for insecurity. I know who I am now. You can coast. You
Mm.
can let yourself be who you're going to be and make what you want to make.
Mhm, mhm, and I'm looking forward to feeling that more, like,
Yeah.
that I really have felt like my late 30s, I was you know, I feel like we're told that in your 30s you're gonna be more self-assured, and I'm like, I can taste it. It's so close. Like, I think I
Mhm.
really am close to that, like, here we go into
Mhm.
relaxing into that part of myself. I can't wait.
Right.
I feel like
Uh-huh.
if that's what's coming, like this decade's gonna rock, you know?
Right.
Um, my therapist reminded me yesterday as I was crying that we can't necessarily just flip the switch and now we're 40 and now we feel that all the time. But I think that I will embrace feeling a little more safe being who I am more
Mhm.
often. And then that is going to all downhill from here, get a little easier. That's my hope. And what tinsel extension ladies seem to hint at on my birthday blackjack time. So,
I love that.
that was the only time I won also. So that was a good time. Uh,
Nice. No lost wages for you.
well, nope, because I was in my room, having chicken wings. So
Yay.
40. What a
Well,
wild time.
I love that redefinition of the downhill. I mean, it's still an active downhill. It's not like you're asleep,
Mhm,
but like it's maybe less fraught with all the other junk of our 20s and 30s. And that's what makes so far 40 has been so great. And so I believe that life is just gonna keep getting better and better from here
mhm,
because
mhm.
that's the story I'm telling myself.
I think it's a really it is like a ew, it's a choice too, I think.
Ah.
Ew.
Yeah, I mean, it is a choice though.
What are we looking at, you know?
Right. Exactly, and our brains are
Perspective.
so powerful. We make reality in our head. We perceive reality in our own heads. So if we say, "Oh, I'm just gonna now that I'm 40, I'm gonna do what X, Y, and Z in my family have done, and I'm gonna get in the chair and I'm gonna, watch my TV all evening." Not that getting in an easy chair and watching TV is bad. It's not. But
Mm-mm,
if in your brain, I believe, you start being like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm just supposed to kind of like work, then come home, then go to sleep, then work, then come home, go to sleep. Then that's what we're going to do
mhm, mhm,
because it's the story that we're telling ourselves. However, if the story is, no, I'm going to make some cool stuff, I'm going to make connections, I'm going to go and leash myself into the world, and I don't have to go quietly into that good night. I
mhm,
can make a howl and I can be a wild gal. I can be a wild woman in this world. Then
mm.
I believe that's what's going to happen because that's the story we're telling ourselves of what's possible.
Yep. You kinda tend to steer toward what you're looking at, right? So, your perspective
Yeah.
shifts your steering.
That's a
So,
good point.
I'm
You
stoked.
steer towards what you're looking at. Yeah, and I want my eyes to be full of adventure and wonder.
Yeah. Speaking
Yeah.
of, how are
Yes.
things going with you getting home? How are you feeling after your trip?
I feel like it's so easy to get into a rut when you're at home, and on one hand, I love a rut because a rut is comfortable and it's kind of relaxing and it's very sleepy, which means like warm, snuggly blankets in my bed and my couch and reading and midday naps and all of that stuff. Like, I love that.
Hmm,
But two things can be true at the same time. I can both love that because it's what my body, if asked, what do you want body, i.e., what's easiest for you right now? My body's like, resting and not moving and being sedentary. Also, I feel like hell when I do that for too long.
mhm,
So it's both things. And going on this trip, which is a month long typically we go every year for a month, is a really good reset because it's long enough that it upsets my patterns of it, like tears up my rut. And then just when I feel like I'm starting to form a rut in Colorado, it's time to head back. So I rip
Mm,
up that rut and I come back here. And I usually will have had lots of epiphanies because you spend an inordinate amount of time, like 22 plus hours on the road both ways from Tennessee to Colorado.
mm,
And, so you think about what do I want for my everyday life? And typically I go, I don't want that rut anymore. Why have I been doing that for so long? And then you figure out what do I want instead? So I like it in that it helps me to reset and kind of helps me refocus what I really want from my day to day.
mm. That's great.
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling the sleep thing at
Mhm.
my house also. It's a little depressing,
Mhm.
little bit depressing. Also, like my trip, the LA part of it, I didn't sleep very much at all. So I think my body
Oh
is
shoot.
like wanting to just lay down. But I think
Mhm.
it can feel a little like, is this depression? After we've kind of been like really active and with people and at like maybe a familiar place or whatever. So getting back into any sort of routine that you were having before is a little tough and it feels a little like, am I okay? At least to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, depression's a sneaky bitch
Yeah.
because at least with anxiety, like your body is giving you the signals of like, we are anxious and it
Mhm.
feels like hell. Whereas depression in like kind of lower amounts, you kind of like I've heard of people and myself too, like where I've gone like a whole week and been like at the end of that week, I go, oh gosh, I've been depressed,
Mm.
but I wasn't aware of it. It's so weird. It's she's a sneaky bitch,
She's a
depression.
sneaky bitch. Yeah. And it like I said a couple episodes ago, I think it's easy to confuse complacency, contentment,
Mhm.
like rest and depression for me. I'm like,
Totally.
which one is that? It's probably yes and. Um but yeah. Yeah, getting back into the swing of taking care of your body. It's
Mhm.
ew. Like,
Why is it so okay, so here's kind of what I wanna talk about today.
okay.
I was on Marco Polo with my dear friend Rachel, and I was just, like, going off because I was like I ranted at her, and she was gracious enough to talk me through it. I was like, "Here's the deal. This American life," and I'm not talking about the amazing award-winning podcast, I'm talking about this life that we live as Americans. I can't speak to what it's like in other countries, but at least being an American, our lifestyles are insane. We are expected, and I believe it's probably everyone, but I think the only thing I can really speak to are the lenses, the hats that I wear. Um, I'm a I'm a business owner, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a creator, I'm an artist, I'm a friend, and the amount of things that I need to get done that are just baseline things in a day feels so overwhelming.
Mhm.
And I just don't know. Like, I am privileged enough to be in the position where we are a two income house. We do have kids. We are not, um, we are not in the lower tier economically. Uh, so there is some privilege there. I have no freaking clue how single mothers do it,
Mm.
especially single mothers from a low economic background.
Mhm.
I do not understand. I can barely keep up with my life, and I'm talking about making sure kids are healthy, making sure that I get the groceries ordered or picking them up, making sure that our businesses are well in hand or that the kids have all the things that they need for their extracurriculars. Oh, I need to go to that meeting at school. Oh, I need to make sure that I buy this specific piece of equipment for their extracurriculars. Oh, I need to meet with a CPA. I need to go to a therapy appointment for my dumb mental health. I need to make sure to pick up that medication for my dumb mental health. I need to make sure that my macros are right. I need to make sure that I'm getting enough exercise, but not just any exercise, the right kind of exercise for my specific place in my life. Because I'm perimenopausal. How the hell
Oh, and you're
do
supposed to
we
also look pretty and nice
oh my
while you do
gosh.
all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, you're supposed to be everything all the time, and I
Mhm.
find myself dropping the ball all the time, and then it creates this shame spiral that's like, "Well, I guess you just are letting your kids down. I guess you're just not a good mom. I guess you're just not a good creator," and oftentimes, the thing that takes the hit most of the time is my art.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, "Oh, art's just this, like, frivolous." This is I don't wanna believe this, but this is what I end up believing. It's just like the frosting on the top. So, like, when you're trying to hold the cake together at the bottom, the first thing that goes is the art. I don't
Mhm.
have time for that
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
What are you gonna choose? If given the choice between making sure your child has food and the right kind of food and art, these are my 2 things right here.
Mhm.
Which one are you
Mhm.
gonna choose?
I mean, you always choose the one that someone else needs.
Right. Especially as
Like,
a mom,
yeah, because
especially as a woman.
yeah, that too.
Mhm.
Just like this one is the art piece is mine,
Mhm.
so it can go by the wayside until all the other things are taken care of, and they're never going to be taken care of.
Right.
It's yeah. Don't be selfish. Make sure
Yep.
you're taking care of all this stuff. You're not important. You have to take care of. I mean, and thank God our moms have treated us that way, but it's really difficult. So, I mean, I raised my kid
Mhm.
as a single parent in low economic standing. And like the only help I had were like I had boyfriends, not a that sounds really bad, but like a few that I lived with. So there was some reprieve, I suppose,
Mm.
from the, you know, splitting rent or whatever. But yeah, it's not possible. Like I can't afford to give my kid all this like extracurricular stuff. So how I managed was I made that's when I really started making sure that my art made money because
Mm.
if I didn't start doing utility musician work or teaching for a place that I could do some trade for my kid to get classes, like I wasn't going to be able to do art anymore.
Hmm.
So then I had to put a lot of pressure on art to make money and make a way for my kid to go do things.
Yeah.
And then did my like did I get make it to every parent teacher conference? No. Like does my kid in their elder teens now resent me? Most definitely. Like how was I supposed to
Mm.
be working enough to keep a roof over? I also managed our apartment buildings. So we had cheaper rent. like I mean, you can't be everything to everyone constantly and then also take care of yourself. I think it comes back to like seasons,
Mhm.
where something rears its head more, so you have to take care of that the most. And what rears its head never is your shit,
Mhm.
like because you have to be like, shh, don't,
Right.
or
So are you
find a way to make it make money.
so now that you are in a double income living situation
Mhm.
and your child no longer lives with you,
Mhm.
how was that transition between, because I would imagine there's, from what you're saying, there's a substantial amount of surviving that you had to do.
Mhm.
and now you don't do you feel like you're still surviving, or do you feel like you're in a different place now?
I think we're still surviving. I mean, like last year, I think I've talked about before, last year was the biggest economically, the biggest year I think I've ever had, or, and for sure that he and I have had. Moving to New York City is expensive.
Yeah.
Getting married is expensive. Like my kid graduated high school, like getting that stuff set and all that. So like we are definitely still struggling with things evening out. Um
Mhm.
Also now what I think it's left me with is I don't know how to not be doing that still. So
Mhm.
like one thing about, this is kind of a derailment, but one odd thing about parenting when you get to this, my kid's 19 now and they'll be 20 on in October, is you go from like, okay, I've got to figure everything out, I've got to make this work, I've got to like work my ass off and do all this stuff and make sure that my I can still do art and do all this, but make sure they're taken care of. And then they leave the house and you're supposed to stop like doing all that. So
Oh.
where once your society would see you as a bad mom for like not taking care of everything, now suddenly once they're gone, you have to like not care anymore. Not care, but mean like
Right.
I'm not, it's weird for me to ask you, how are you doing? What do you need? Like are who are you hanging out with? Where are you? So I know you're safe. You can't do that anymore. It's like so
Mhm.
bizarre. So I'm over here like, what art do I want to do? Do I want to keep doing art just for money? Like, okay, I won't bother you, grown adult child, because now you want me to leave you alone. Okay. Like, now you have to be the angel parent who doesn't bother the kid but cares a lot
Ugh.
and is now the big city lady making money and the artist that never got to be an artist because they were busy being a utility person. Anyway, the balance is is not existent for me at the moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's such a violent shift too, from like, you are my child until the day you turn 18. I am responsible for you. I'm ultimately the one that things fall back on. I have a responsibility until you are a legal adult. Once they're a legal adult, which is it is not a transition. I mean, lawfully,
Hmm.
the law says, 17 and 360
For
4 days.
yeah,
It took me a second. How many days are there in a year?
depends on the year, I guess.
Yeah. Um, and that's a minor, and then the day they turn 18, now they're an adult, and you might need to, like, hands off if that's what they want. Like,
And like you teach them independence. I mean, one of the things with my kid is like you've watched, first of all, their dad is like crazy about working and being independent. You've watched me work my ass off and like be as independent as humanly possible. I've taught you to be that way. So what happened
mhm,
when my kid turned 18? Like I'm independent. I have a full-time job. I want to get an apartment. I'm moving out early so that I can like make sure I'm good before you move. And you're like, "Okay, so now, like you said, 365th day? Okay, bye.
yeah,
Now stop."
that is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just being a mom is such a mind fuck. Like, I mean, and it's wonderful. There are parts of it that's wonderful, and also there are parts of it that are so hard and so constant and so, like, it requires you to have to think about somebody else and their well-being so fervently and so doggedly, and then also, like, provide them with enough runway to spread their wings at some point and fly the coop? Like, how as moms do we just turn that off? It's very, very hard.
Mhm.
But at
And
the sa Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. And it's like biologically, your kid is supposed to want to leave. They're
Mhm.
supposed to want to separate. And you're biologically like, you've got to take care of and nurture and love and do all those things, but also be like, bye.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's why teenagers are kind of assholes at the end because they have to be like shitty enough for you to be like, okay, you should go.
It's like
You
a
know?
nature built that in so that we'd be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
bye," at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, so it's healthy for your kids to want to pull away, and it's healthy
Mhm.
for you to feel a little like, "Kinda fuck you, though." Uh,
Mhm.
but where's how do you make that jump? It's really I didn't mean to derail this, but there it is.
Oh, no. It's all part of this whole pot mixed with all the things that I'm talking about that, like, just everything there's so many things in the pot of this American life that require us to have to split focus all the time, to have to like there are too many things between, the taxes due April 15th every year and meeting with the CPA and making sure you have the right house insurance and car insurance and is my car registered? Oh crap, my registration lapsed. Like then you have to like get your car everything about your car. Your car is hell bent on falling the hell apart. And you are being like, no chaos, not today. We are trying to stay one step ahead of you. That's just one thing. That's just your car. Now, now fill a house full of appliances. I'm talking like air conditioners and like filters and things that keep your house or things cool and your food fresh and all these things that wash your clothes, things that wash your dishes. Those things break. And on
Mhm,
top of that, they're designed to break. Thanks, planned obsolescence. So now you're trying to stay one step ahead of those things, but that's not all. The house itself could fall apart. And
mhm,
not just the inside, the outside. And we're
mhm,
talking plants and trees and things that you don't know about if you're a regular person, I think. Like, I don't know what you need begonia to stay alive. What? So now you're taking care of all of those things. That's not even including the people that you live with, that you love, having to think about them.
mhm,
Oh, and then thinking about a marriage, like, I already don't have time for hardly anything at all, and then I go through my whole day, I speak all my words, I give all the things, and then I need to have enough in the tank to, like, love, and make help my partner feel like they're a valued part of my life.
mhm. Nurture you too. Oh, but please,
Oh,
please remember that you have to eat and you have to eat differently because of your body now.
right,
And you know, try to be happy about that and then sit down. Sit down for at least a half an hour and make something, you idiot.
right.
Yeah.
The whole I am obsessed with Yuval Noah Harari's book *Sapiens*, and he talks about being hunter gatherers and how it was just like the ideal lifestyle for a human. Your only job you had every day was find enough food and water and stay a part of your pack for protection so you stay alive. And on one hand, I'm like, really? That's all there is to that life? Like food, water, and shelter and safety? But then the more I get into this American life, the more I'm like, oh, some days I honestly feel like that wouldn't be so bad. You
Mhm.
know, I can do
Mhm.
my art. I can write crap on the side of cave walls. And instead of being graffiti, it would be art,
Mm.
because we're hunter gatherers.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It just basically what I'm saying is, dear listener, if you ever feel overwhelmed by the amount of things that this life requires you to do, I know of at least one person, me, that is also, yeah, like, yeah, what the fuck? This
Yeah.
is freaking hard.
Yep. And as they say, it's not this simple, but a reminder. You can do everything. You
Mhm.
just can't do it all at the same time. So there it's like whack-a-mole. It seems
Mhm.
like you're going to have to take care of this thing that's popping up and this thing that's popping up, but you got to keep an eye on this other thing that's popping up. Like that induces a panicky feeling, but you will
Yes.
get to that mole. You will whack-a that mole. Um
I will say that there is something, and I know this is such an eye roll because I, right now, am eye rolling even before I say it. Whatever. It's a concession. That there is something to having enough sleep, eating well, and exercising our bodies that does make this, I'm pointing to my brain, work a whole lot better
mhm.
than if I just stayed in bed and watched Netflix and read all day, which is what I wanna do. Like, but it's so hard because I'll have, like, great workout, eating, water drinking days, and then I'll be like, "Yeah, that was great." And then I get too far ahead of myself in my brain and I go, "In order to stay healthy, I need to do that, like, every day."
Mhm.
And then I think, "Oh my gosh, that's so much energy. What, I just do that every single day?"
I
There's, like,
can't
no
maintain
re
this.
right, like, there's no reprieve for me, there's no, like, "Great, now you've reached the zenith of you've drank all the water you need to. Now don't worry about it." But,
It's
like,
a chip and dip day.
yeah, exactly, like, that no, but I think what I'm doing is I'm thinking too far in the future instead of just focusing, like, all we have is right now. All we have
Mm,
is today, not even the whole day, like, this part of it, like, this one moment of it. And I think it's just not helpful for me to keep hearkening to the future over and over and over again and being like, "Well, what's it gonna be like in 5 months? How many
mm,
gains are you gonna," like, no, all I have is today.
mhm.
What do you think? Tell me your reaction to everything I just said.
Uh, I agree with everything you just said. I think there's a lot of pressure
Mhm.
on, like we say all the time, being a human is hard.
Mhm.
Being a woman is hard. Being a mother is hard. Being an artist is hard. Like, and I'm
Mhm.
speaking again from only my perspective. Um, this is hard stuff living and taking care of things and people and ourselves. And all we, like you said, all we have is our current moment and grace for
Mhm.
ourselves. I'm really, really bad at that.
Me too.
Um,
Because someone in my brain, I'm thinking someone's got to suffer for this.
mm,
Someone has got to get the brunt of this frustration.
mm,
And it's not going to be my children, and it's not going to be my husband, and it's not going to be my friends. Who's the person that I can turn this on that is not, I'm not hurting anyone in air quotes? That would be me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's painful. And it does end up hurting someone,
Yeah. I feel,
myself.
I feel like, was it a few episodes ago we talked about having our plans that we could keep for days that we feel like we can do everything and days that we feel like we can't do as much, and
Yes.
like having grace for those days that we really don't feel like we can do as much. And like
Mhm.
for me, that was my day yesterday. I was like, I laid down. I don't do that. I laid
Mhm.
down and I was like, I just can't. today.
Mhm.
Like, I need to lay down. I'm exhausted. And I really wanted, like, I was ramping up, beating myself up pretty hard. And then it was like, no, I can't. I'm a person. I can't do everything. And
Yeah.
I think we have to remember that. Also, like, our children are resilient and
Mhm.
strong because we've taught them to be. And if your every second of every day isn't spent obsessing about your child, that's okay. They're gonna
Mhm.
be all right if you missed something. Am I telling you to neglect your children? No. But I am saying, like, we're all needing therapy because our parents fucked us up. That's what parents do. If you
Mhm.
your kids, if you think your kids aren't going to be a little fucked up from the stuff that you're doing or not doing, you're wrong. No matter what happens, you will fuck up your kids. Um,
Mhm.
if you didn't, they wouldn't be like functional humans because they wouldn't have to deal with any adversity at all, and then they wouldn't be able to work in the world. Give yourself a break.
Mhm.
Like, you got to feed your kids and take care of them, right? But I'm saying grace. There are days that things fall off.
Yeah.
It just is that way. If you can't make your thing that day, well, make it tomorrow. I think,
Mhm.
like, give yourself some grace because you just can't do everything at once.
But I want to.
I know, me
I
too.
wanna do it all perfectly the first time.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
what doesn't serve me here so much is 2 things: perfectionism and all or nothing thinking. Like, that combination right there, like, because what ends up happening is I have a hard day. I lay down and then I go, "Screw it. I've already broken my plan,
Mm.
so it all goes to hell now."
Mm.
Everything is thrown into chaos, and now I'm in my room under a blanket instead of being like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, all is not lost." And what is perfect anyway? It doesn't exist. So
Mhm.
keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no I again with my therapist yesterday, it's like it's not either, and it wasn't about parenting specifically, but it isn't either you're a great mom or you're a really shitty one.
Right.
Like, there are days that you're getting all the stars on
Mhm.
mothering, and there are days where you're a 1 or 2-star mom, and that's okay. And then something else probably got attention at that point. Like, it's not either you're bad every day or
Mhm.
you're good every day. It's like, okay, that was weird. Like, it's a scale. And
Mhm.
I mean, I needed to be reminded of that with some other stress that I've had. And it's not like either we make this our entire life or we say, fuck this and we're done with it. Like, that's not it. That's not your art either.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, okay, I didn't write all the things I was supposed to write today. That means I'm not going to be a writer. It means I don't care because I didn't make time. Like, no,
Right.
today you're not that. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Try again tomorrow
Right.
or
I
tonight.
have I have a friend. Her name is Allison, and she is so it's so interesting because even when I lived with her for a second, so I got to see how she lived the day to day without the shiny, put your best foot forward kind of a thing. And it was fascinating watching her because she was going through a really, really crappy time in her life, which would cause me to like run away from my art and be like, I don't have time for this. She got She never stopped creating in all of that time. In fact, she pushed even more into creative things. And I remember I asked her one day, I was like, "How are you able to sustain this level of creation
She
even in
has
the
kids.
midst?" She does. She had 2 little kids at the time. And I said, "How in the world are you able to do this?" And she said, "Because art has always been my safe place." It
Mm,
is the thing that fills me up when I'm empty, and so why would it be the first thing to go?
mm,
And I was thinking and I was like, I wonder if that is a mindset shift. Because
mhm.
right now, so much of my art is a bullet on a to-do list every day. But
Ooh.
what if I allowed it, this is the where the mindset shift comes in. Instead of it being a bullet point on my to-do list, what if I allowed it to be my safe place?
Ooh,
How would that change my posture towards it?
that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I have been, like, not writing songs, and for various reasons, but I think I got, busy blame happened. Like I was very busy. But also I think there's a lot of other stuff swirling around that I that stopped me from writing. And yesterday I was like, ugh, I'm feeling such intense emotions and I want to write and I'm upset about it. And how come I can just teach other people to do this stuff and I don't take the time to do it myself? And I'm like so overwhelmed. And I like picked up a pen to try to write something down. And I was like, I felt this heavy resistance. I even said it out loud, like, resistance, And then I was like, why don't you just take all of this and write it down with there's no purpose. It's not, you don't have to check a box now you wrote a good song. Do what you tell
Mhm.
everyone else to do. And
Yeah.
I sat down and wrote 2 verses and a chorus with my piano and it was fine. It doesn't matter. Like having that just be like, "Oh, it felt like a hug." It was
Mm.
like, "Oh," right? Like instead of it being you're a songwriter, why aren't you writing? Why did you It was more like it was there for me, right?
Whoa. Oh, I just
I'm
got
all
goosebumps.
emosh about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Surprise.
Your art was there for you when you needed it to be. Interesting. Wow. That is a powerful mindset shift.
Oi.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that like cuz my next thought is okay, so I'm at point A. Point A is, art is bullet point on my daily to-do list. And
Mhm.
B is no, art is a hug. Art is a reprieve from a very crazy world and this messy pot of this American life.
Mhm.
I'm at point A. I want to get to point B. How do I do that?
Mhm.
So, how do we do that?
I think that's a really good question that I would love to have a prepared answer for. Um, and I think it looks different for everyone because on one hand, aren't we trying to practice?
Mhm.
And practice doesn't always feel magical, right? So I think some
Yes.
days we do have to punch the clock with this.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is that. But there are also days that we can't, there's no energy left to raise our arm to punch that clock chunk.
Mhm.
Those days, I think we have to treat it with more love and
Mhm.
like, what feels like good for me to do? Could I think about that and climb up on its lap instead of being like,
Mm.
okay, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, days where you've like done a lot of heavier working out and your body's really tired, days that you can kind of push through it
Mhm.
and days where you need to just do a couple light stretches and listen to your body and appreciate it for what it's done for you.
Mhm.
I feel like maybe sometimes it's okay to be like, oh, thank you for being there for me. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
spend some time with you and see what that feels like. Because
Yeah.
today can't be a push day.
Mhm.
I feel like,
It's almost like art is our relationship with what we make is almost like our relationship with a really good friend is kind of what I'm feeling or hearing.
Mm,
Like it sometimes relationship with friends is not fun. Sometimes it's hard, but it's a
mhm,
choice we make. And sometimes you're really there for that friend really hard. Okay, I'm going to set a clock and I'm going to make myself sit down and I'm going to make myself do the thing. But sometimes it's the art is nurturing you. It's a give and take relationship, like any relationship should be. Like
mm,
sometimes it flows really well and sometimes you have to put the work in
mhm,
and choose it. And sometimes we don't feel like choosing it. Like I know that there's absolutely in my own marriage, there are days when I'm like, "Ooh, this is easy." And then there are days that I'm like, "I don't want to,
yeah.
but I'm going to because I chose that and I want to keep going in this."
Mhm,
And I think art maybe is no different than that.
mhm. Yeah, we talk maybe every episode now about big magic. Um,
It was about time we brought up Big Magic
it's
again.
time for Elizabeth Gilbert. I love she says in one part that you can treat your art like a lover,
Mm,
and I don't think every day we feel that, but that feeling of like I get to slip away and steal a moment,
mhm,
whatever that is, and like I'm desperate for that like electric connection or that comfort or that, whatever. And I think there are days where, like you said, with the relationship, you're like, oh, I need this feeling so badly. Let me just sneak a little tiny, like, escape, you know?
mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of books,
Yes.
we have something coming up that we're excited about. And we want
Oh.
to get you guys like your brains ready for it. Um, we're going to be doing the artist's way, and we're going to be having a separate group that like we're going to talk about it some on the podcast, but we're also going to be going through it with a pod of friends like you who maybe you started doing the artist's way and you lost your artist's way because it's kind of a big commitment. Or maybe you've been like, you're like me and you've been wanting to do it, but just haven't like made the commitment to do it because it's a commitment. Well, we're here to do it with you, and we're
Mhm.
going to be moving through it together like a book club.
Yes.
So,
And in full transparency, if you're one of those people that's like, I have started it and I never finished it. I've started it 3 times now and never finished it. And so this getting together and doing it in a honestly dear listener book club format is every bit for me, as well as for you. I hope we can all keep each other accountable. Let me hold on. I'll make a cut here, but I want to show them the front cover.
okay.
Ow, hold on. So here she is. It is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If you would like to get your copy, I will link where you can find this in the show notes. And this thing is just chock full of things that are going to help, like everyone kind not everyone but so many people reference this book as helping them get unstuck or helping them develop an artistic practice, helping them move forward in with their creativity. So we are so freaking excited about it. I could almost pee my pants.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just peeing right now
Just
from
peeing.
excitement.
It's a lot. It's a bigger time commitment. She has you do activities every day. But if our creativity means a lot to us, we put time in on things that we value. So I'm committing to put the time in, and we hope you will too.
We're starting in September, and that will be, honestly, dear listeners, 1 year official 1 year anniversary. We will have released an episode every week for a full year, and we wanted to um, commemorate that with our first group.
Yeah. All right, friends. It's that time where we sign off. Until next week.
Bye bye.
Honestly, dear listener.